Yo everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today I thought I'd do a fun little video, seeing as I am now leaving my 30s and I thought I would do a video along the lines of 30 things about being in your 30s, just in case anybody is entering their 30s or people that are in their 30s and that can relate. So I've got a little list here, so I'm going to go through each one of them one by one, and obviously feel free to input your own information in terms of what the 30s have brought to your life and whether you agree with me or not. So one thing I noticed when I entered my 30s is that the puppy fat that I had on my face from my 20s disappeared, and I was like, oh my god, have I got cheekbones? I mean, that may have something to do with obviously working out a lot more and being a little bit more health conscious, which is another thing that does happen more in your 30s. You don't eat at McDonald's and KFC as much as you used to do in your 20s because your stomach can't tolerate it anymore. But one thing that you do definitely do is that your face starts to slim down. Definitely become a lot more confident when you speak to people. Finally start to actually figure out who you are as a person, and that journey of self-love definitely begins in your 30s, whereas you're a little bit more insecure in your 20s. You start to become less so in your 30s for sure. You start earning more money and become more successful, and obviously if you've done well in your 20s as it is, you're lucky, and you will become more successful in your 30s. I've definitely found that for myself, because when you're in your 20s, a lot of people are actually still at school, still graduating, still trying to figure out what they want to do as a career, not too sure, money's not too great either, you're inexperienced. But once your 30s kick in, you definitely notice that there is an increase in your salary, in terms of your career, your experience, and you definitely settle more into what you want to do for the future. You start to reduce your friendship circle when you enter your 30s as well, that I've noticed, because it definitely happened to me. You start to outgrow people as well, and especially when you realize that their journey and their path is no longer aligned with yours. You definitely start to travel more once you realize that you've kind of got the funds to be able to do that, and the know-how to be able to go out there and be okay on your own. The people that you once looked up to when you were younger and you thought were amazing when you were in your 20s and even in your teens, you start to see them for who they really are, human beings, not gods. You really start to see the true colors of the manipulative people in your life when you're in your 30s, especially those who no longer serve any purpose to any kind of positive aspects in your life and helping you grow as a person. Relationships definitely start to take on deeper meanings, and when I say relationships, I don't mean your boyfriend. I mean relationships in general, whether it's your friends, your family, with yourself even. In your 30s, you definitely start to invest more time in yourself rather than giving all your time to others like you used to do. As you enter your 30s, you definitely start to accept the way that you look is the way that you look, and you stop focusing on your perceived negative appearance, and you learn to love yourself physically, outside as well as on the inside. You start to give yourself more me time. I realized that in my 30s, spending time just with myself was so valuable, and it really helped in terms of my mental health, rather than having to always be on the go, always be sociable, because I'm an introverted extrovert, if that makes sense. So I can be very, very outgoing, and then sometimes I just want to be silent for hours. Whereas when you're in your 20s, you were like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be on my own, maybe I should be with people, maybe, and you question yourself. You stop doing that in your 30s. You definitely start to call more people out on their bullshit as you enter your 30s, because you're no longer afraid of the potential consequences. You definitely become more determined and strong-willed. Whereas when you're in your teens and your 20s, education's almost like a chore, because you're made to do it, because you're told you need an education for a good job, blah, 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 blah. And it's not as fun. But when you enter your 30s, because I know that this happened with myself, you actually start to educate yourself for fun and steadily start to grow your knowledge base, because at the end of the day, knowledge is power. You start to become more responsible for other people, whether it's kids, that you have your own kids, nephews and nieces, parents, grandparents, and that sort of thing. You realize in your 30s that half the stuff that you were taught when you were in your 20s and younger years was just bullshit that was used to control you. You definitely start to speak up for yourself more. You stop caring what other people think about you. I've always had this mindset, not just in my 30s, not in my 20s, from when I was a small child. Don't care what other people think about me. Like me, that's great, we'll get along. Don't like me, I won't lose any sleep over it. You start to remove toxic people from your life as you enter your 30s without feeling any guilt attached to it, whether that be friends, family members, colleagues, acquaintances. In your 30s, you really start to push yourself more to achieve things that you know that you can achieve, because you're growing confidence, helps you to put your best foot forward. As you enter your 30s, you definitely kind of want to experience new things and explore what the world has to offer you. One thing I definitely noticed, not just with me, but with a lot of other people as well, as you enter your 30s and obviously you grow in confidence and in terms of who you are, you definitely stop making excuses for bad behavior on behalf of other people. Your tastes definitely change, whether that's clothes, food, men, the environment around you. Every time you get up in the morning, and this happens literally from the day you turn 30, you moan when you get up in the morning. You're like, oh, when you've been sitting in your chair too long, it's like, oh, my back aches, oh, my leg aches. Yeah, that comes with your 30s, trust me. Unfortunately, you do start to develop more illnesses and ailments. You haven't got that youth behind you anymore. The longer we're alive, the more we consume in terms of the awful environment around us. And trust me, oh my God, the amount of allergies that I have developed over the past 10 years, I could write a book on it. It definitely takes longer for injuries and issues within your body to heal. That's something to bear in mind. Definitely start to learn how to control your anger. You learn how to keep your mouth closed when you really want to just explode. But when you do actually want to say something, you say it in a fairly measured way. And finally, you don't feel old, but you don't feel young anymore. But at the end of the day, one thing you remember in your 30s is that youth is just a state of mind. So that's it for my 30 points of being in your 30s. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Obviously, if you want to add anything to this, feel free to do that below. Other than that, I hope you guys are wonderful and great, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.